Welcome to the What I Meant to Say podcast. I'm your host, Wendy Jones, and I started these conversations because life doesn't give us do-overs. So this is a space where we get a chance to reflect and tell our story again, with more grace for ourselves, and hopefully make us all better for having listened. In this episode, I talk with Kaylie McHugh. She is an indoor and beach player. She played at Tulane and TCU. And the day I saw her play for the first time, I knew I had to get her on the podcast. So we had a conversation about her mentality, what she does to keep it strong, some of the things she loves to do off the court, and all the things that just keep her a real grounded human being in the face of everything that's out there today. So check this conversation out. You're going to love it. This whole Be Better thing is just blowing up. And the stories that are coming in are so exciting. And what I'm realizing is that I'm a storyteller and a connector. And that never felt like something before. But like when I came out and did meditation and yoga nidra with TCU, you know, we connected. And you sent me that Writing Wild book. And so before I ever even saw you play, not that Lauren hadn't been like, oh, we got this awesome new, grad transfer. And, she'd been telling me about you, but I'd never seen you play. And we connected on a philosophical level before we ever connected on a volleyball level. So I loved that start. And then when I got to come out and see you play, that at UCLA was the first time I saw you play live. That match was just electric. And I mean, it gives me chills just saying it. And I'm so happy to have you on today. And I was really looking forward to this. I'm glad it worked out to record. I don't know, let's just get started. So
yeah, I'm pumped. I'm ready. I'm ready to share it all and hope that it helps somebody somewhere.
Well, that's what I love about you is in this world, I love real people. Like, you don't have to think like me. You don't have to be like me. And I think America is just made up of the most amazing people. And you, right off the bat, were one of them. And I mean, outside of volleyball, which, holy cow, watching you play is like the advice I think you could give to undersized players. My mom's 5'4". So, to watch you do.
An inch on me.
What? Really? Are you? What are? Okay, how tall are you? Tell everybody.
I'm 5'3".
You're 5'3". TCU's got you listed at 5'4", but absolute baller. So, tell me. I mean, you have all these awards and accolades. I mean, you were freshman All-American. Were you an All-American your freshman year?
Yes. I was All-American my sophomore year, and then I just made the freshman all-conference team.
So your parents got you started in volleyball young?
Yes. My dad coached my brother. Like, he made a club for him. So I would be at the practices at 7-8 scootering in circles around the gym for hours while he would be at practice. And he actually made me practice one day with them when I was about 10. And I remember the first dig that I've ever gotten in my life against like a big 18-year-old man that just hit the poop out of the ball at me. And I remember the most perfect dig. I just stood there and it just went perfectly in my arms. And the feeling that everybody around me got so excited was electric. And then I feel like from that day, like the sparks just kept happening more and more, and you wanted to get to know more and more of it. And then my mom played, which helped, and my brothers played. So whenever there was free time, we would always be peppering, or they would help me with my skills. And so I'm really thankful for that. They just kept pushing me like through the little things and teaching me all the details and the styles that could come with the game.
So the youngest of three?
4.
Okay. Like me. I love that.
Yes.
And what number are you?
Like
child-wise. Yeah, like out of the 4.
I'm the youngest.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, yeah. 3 older brothers, and then the little girl.
Oh, my gosh. That kept you hungry, didn't it?
There was no mercy.
Yeah.
Ever.
So, indoor and beach volleyball, right? So through high school, and then where'd you grow up?
I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, so I was pretty close by the beach, which I was thankful for.
Yeah.
I miss it. There's no real beaches around me right now, so I'm always yearning for a beach.
Yes.
And It was awesome. I got to play beach and indoor through my dad's club. And then my high school team was really good at sports. We went to states every year. We won 2 out of my 4 years. And then I immediately went to Tulane to start my college career. That was super fun. I did all 4 years of indoor and beach. So one was in the fall, one was in the spring. Constant competition. I played libero all 4 years, and then I got to play the 1s and 2s throughout my beach season, which was really nice. My coach was Wayne Hawley, great man for beach, and then the indoor was Jim Barnes.
Okay.
Wayne taught me everything. He had the greatest lessons ever. He would just come up to you and be like, what color am I thinking of? Or like, he always wanted to play mind games with you, which I really loved. And he was super attention to detail about everything. He really like made me a huge player.
Well, that definitely shows up in the way you play. I've never seen you play indoor, but I do know of Wayne. I've talked to him a couple times, and the way that you play, your technique, and your mindset as well. I mean, both just off the hook. Like, it's amazing to watch you. So that does make sense. What's one of your favorite takeaways from him?
Oh, he was just telling us one day in, I guess, a huddle, that if just anyone's ever in your way, just push them the hell out of your way and get them out of their way if they're in the way of you trying to succeed. And I know that sounds simple, but the way he said it and the passion in his voice, to just like, he let me feel like if anyone's in my way, that I can get them out of my way, just to gain more success or gain where I'm trying to go. And he just said, no one can stop you but you. Basically, I've always believed in that.
That is such a huge lesson too. And to surround yourself with people that believe in where you're going, it's a game changer. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah. So from Tulane, that's how we got to know each other, because you play with my daughter Lauren at TCU. And when she came through, just talking about the team at the beginning of the year, she was like, oh, we've got this cool new girl from Tulane, and she's really good. And she would, tell me about you and just kind of like getting to know you. And then we met up when you guys came in January for a training trip to the beach in Hermosa. And I had asked Maho and Hector, I said, hey, could I get in and do a little yoga nidra with the girls? Because I think that, I'm so big on recovery and learning how to, as a competitive athlete, treat your body well and treat your mind well. Because obviously you got the grit, you got the competition down, but coming down and treating your body well makes you a better competitor. But I don't think that always gets out there. And I was so excited to come in and do that yoga nidra session with you guys. And it was so fun because that's how we connected. And then, on writing, and you sent me that book, Writing Wild. And I was like, okay, there's some like-mindedness here. And so I just really... I just loved that our first connection wasn't through hardcore volleyball. But tell me a little bit about your experience at TCU this year.
It was awesome. A little bit of culture shock coming from New Orleans to Fort Worth. Yeah. But I loved it. Everybody was super nice and super welcoming, which was very helpful for me being new, because you're always scared about being the new person. And I knew I was the oldest, so I had some eyes looking towards me. But overall, it was super fun, and it was just a huge learning experience. I had to go through that whole transfer portal, and that was a huge experience. And it was hard. It was hard to leave a team that like you gave everything to. Yeah. But I knew that there was something more for me out there, and this opportunity came across, and I wanted to take it. So that was super difficult. Because I always believed in making a good team and not going to be on a good team, but that opportunity would be on a great team and make a great team somewhere else came up, and I had to take it. Yeah. And Hector was super supportive about the apartment and my education. He asked me questions on a weekly basis, how I was, and so was Maho. So I was super grateful that I was somewhere where they cared about me more than just their athlete. I was a person to them too. And it was cool to see the different coaching styles. We have so many different girls on our team from different places, and different recruits came and different other transfers. So it was fun to just see a whole new team rather than the same team I've had every year
Yeah.
at two. But overall, the experience it was big. I took a lot, and I wish I could do things differently, and I wish I took more opportunities I didn't even know I had. But now I just know for the future that I can't like let anything pass by without seeing it as an opportunity.
Yep. Well, that is actually, you pretty much hit on the head exactly why I started this podcast, because I really believe when we go through things, there's always something to learn, right? So, and sometimes life is less than ideal and it doesn't go exactly the way you had planned or you thought it would go or the way you wish it had gone. But what you take from that and that ability to reflect, which I have seen in you, in just some of your Instagram posts, that ability to reflect on what you've been through is so huge and transformative on so many levels, that this is kind of that space where I'm hoping it creates a safe space to allow other people to realize that it is huge, and to be able to reflect and process what you learned and then make it better next time, right? I mean, so I know you guys were highly ranked all season. You pulled off some huge victories. Like I was talking about, that UCLA that I got to see live was amazing. I loved the one I was in at TCU and saw you. Then the twos match ended up being the decider against Stanford. And obviously, I'm usually rooting for Stanford for Luke, and then I got to Dallas, and I got to Fort Worth, and I'm like, oh no, we're not losing this one today. And you guys came you guys came in strong against Stanford, because I was definitely a TCU mom that day, and so that was another favorite. But what were some of your highlights from the season?
Definitely those UCLA matches were extremely fun with Sutton. It was just the fight with everybody. We had so many team talks and team bonding events that really brought us closer together as athletes and as people and as friends. So that was a big takeaway for me, that we were all very good talkers, but when it came to listening, that was kind of eye-opening to see that even if everybody's very vocal, it's about kind of who can listen too.
You just hit on something. You just hit on something so beautiful, because that was one of my tenets in my blog, and I've really been trying to define what this Be Better is all about. And in my blog, I laid out some tenets last week, and that was one of the biggest ones: is listening is greater than talking.
It is, but it's hard. Of course, it's easier said than done, and making sure it stays in is a big part. Not just I heard it and it flow through, but like it went in and it stayed there, and it like impacted you, and something changed now because you really heard that person. So that was a huge highlight for me. I think Sunny did a really good job at listening at things I needed, and throughout timeouts, we could communicate very efficiently and effectively about a strategy or what each other needed. So I think that was a really big highlight for me this year.
That makes a lot of sense, because to me, watching beach volleyball, like the best teams are the ones that make the quickest adjustments, right? And if you don't have that communication and ability to listen to each other, you can't make those adjustments. And I saw you guys do. In the two matches that I saw live, I saw you guys do that, and it's really cool. I mean, to know that communication is paramount, and you have to feel safe enough that the other person is going to take it, and then you can work together. Because when there's only two of you on the court, it can get lonely really fast.
Yeah. And she was also a quiet person, so I was interested to see how it was going to work. And I know she's younger than me, and I was older, so sometimes the younger one doesn't say as much, but she was just as vocal as I was, so I was super thankful for that.
That's really cool. Really cool. So going into nationals, you obviously had some really high hopes, and you guys kind of had those hopes dashed last week, and I'm sure it's been a little bit of a come down, and probably still going through it. So I'm kind of getting you right on the tail end of that. I was gonna come, and then I had this problem with my ankle, and ended up having to cancel my trip. And so when I saw that online and watching, I was like, oh no. Like, this is really happening. And it's, that's sports. And those are the ones that you remember for the rest of your life. But are you ready to talk about any of that process or some of your thoughts?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
It's
definitely one
raw.
of those things that, yeah, will stick with us for like the rest of our lives. It was just one of those times where everything felt right. It felt aligned. It it looked like this on paper. It should have gone like this, and it didn't. And it makes you feel weird about like other things in life. You're like, if I feel that way and it doesn't go that way, like you search for your whys. But then at the end of the day, it's almost like if it was meant to be, like it would have happened.
Yeah.
Like it would have. And of course, that you don't want to blame it on anything because we didn't show up that day. But I feel like if it was supposed to happen, it would have.
Yeah.
And for some reason, like we have to take a different message from this now. And I hope that even though it wasn't me to like be there for the win, I hope it's for the team later on. They get it for next year, the next 2 years, the next 3 years. I just hope that like those girls learned what that feeling felt like, and they're just going to take it and generate like more of it for next year.
Yeah, more fire. Maybe. Yeah, pressure's real, right?
It was real. It played a huge role, even though we were super ready. I thought it was almost like the pressure overtook the joy. And then at like one point now we're kind of pulling to a more negative emotion than keeping balanced in the positive.
Yeah.
So that was a big learning lesson. We were almost all too focused and wanted it more than wanting to have fun, which was a huge
I think when you take a group of competitors like you guys are and such a hugely talented squad, that pressure can build, right? Because there's this expectation and then that we should win, and then all of those things kind of start feeling heavy on your shoulders. But and one of my favorite things to see in life is an athlete who's playing free and finding that balance between technical training and expectation and wanting to win, and then that just knowing that, hey, I did all the prep I can do and I'm gonna go out here and play free. That's a really hard thing to do. And I don't know, did you feel a difference in your body? Like, as an athlete, you can feel when you're playing free, right? And could you feel a difference in those Gulf Shores matches than maybe other points in the season when you had success?
Yeah. I don't even think pressure was a huge problem for any of us, but for some reason it was just there in the back of our mind. And I wish I felt like I played free, but it didn't to a certain extent. And that seems like the last part of coaching that you kind of have to do for yourself. Like it's hard to teach that. It's hard for a coach to teach that. It's almost like a battle with yourself. So and that's always hard to like face yourself at the end of the day. And we always said if anyone was going to beat us, like it was going to be ourselves. And it felt like that. And it looked like that.
Oh, that's such a tough one. That's such a tough one to take away. I mean, I have matches like that going back, and it's funny because you're right. You do remember it the rest of your life, and mine were in high school, and I still am friends with those girls, and we'll sit around and talk about those games. And so knowing that those things stay with you, what are you doing to kind of process it?
Well, I want to be a coach one day too. Like I want to coach college. So for some reason I feel like this happened to like be a better mentor to girls that like this happens to, or if they feel like in this situation, I know maybe better things to say or better ways how to act. And if we're in a national championship, maybe just look at it as more of a fun opportunity, not like a job or an obligation. And I know that nobody puts that pressure on you but the atmosphere can also enhance that feeling or take away those feelings. So I always just want to like provide a very enjoyable atmosphere for my athletes and make them excited for that pressure, not almost nervous for that pressure.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one. That's a really good one. As an athlete, how do you go about consistently training that mentality that you have? Whether it's at nationals or, throughout the season, on and off the court, right? I mean, you've been in pressure filled situations with school. You have what, 2 degrees and now working on a master's?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
there's pressure, on and off the court, but your mentality is so strong. I'm curious about, does that come naturally to you, or do you
I
do
think it's
things?
just small goal setting.
Huge.
I just think as soon as I try to make a big goal, it seems impossible to reach, but making small goals on a daily basis just kind of lead to those big goals. Just as much as maybe lifting a little heavier or running a little faster, a little longer, or hitting a couple more reps instead of this many reps kind of helps build that positive self-talk and that positive self-image of yourself. And you might have that goal and not reach it that day. And it's hard because you're like, then what did I do for myself? But at the end of the day, like I tried. Like
Yep.
you tried to set that goal, you tried to beat that goal, and if it doesn't work, then for some reason it wasn't meant to happen that day.
Yeah.
Like our path is just completely already made and we're just walking it. So if you walk it the best you can and you're doing that, then you're completing your life and it's just going to come out in the end, I think.
Gosh, that is such a beautiful way to not fight resistance. And I've learned that now, but I love seeing younger athletes that learn this stuff so much younger than me, because that resistance that you come across when you're trying to force something versus walking your path and just being on that path and learning how to stay present. And my favorite thing is, because overwhelm is definitely my negative, where I will go when I see so much in my path that I want to do or have to do in one day or 1 week or 1 month. And the thing I always say to myself is just do the next right thing. And that's, pretty much what you're getting at, because if you can do that one thing, the overwhelm comes down and you're on your path, and it's a game changer. It's a game changer. And look at all you've accomplished. So tell me what your degrees are in.
So I got my bachelor's in psychology. I have a master's in kinesiology and sports and coaching. And then I'm getting another master's in liberal arts.
Amazing.
I know it's just everywhere, but whatever.
But I mean, if it's the benefit of the silver lining of COVID year and being able to continue your education, there are some really cool stories that are coming out of, one, you guys are so amazingly technically trained and you're coming out with these degrees that are going to benefit the world because you have so much knowledge and you're following your path. And so, if there's any silver lining I've taken from everything athletes have been through, and we've all been through, but it's been hard to, be separated and play, not feel part of your team and have your games canceled and your seasons canceled and all the ups and downs there. It's cool to see, the benefits that are coming out of it, and to watch you guys grab onto them and get this extra year and have these different experiences. It's pretty cool, because I wouldn't have known you without COVID. I mean,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I'd like to think
but it helped me.
well, I like to think our paths would have crossed, because you're such an absolute baller. And I don't know if you have any ability to pull up that UCLA match at some point and watch a couple points of this kid, because
there's a highlight reel on YouTube. So
cool. Let's do that. Highlight reels are awesome.
Okay.
And I sense your humility too, but to watch you is like, I love your cheering section. I mean, at TCU, you had, watching that Stanford match, and I don't know if you remember, but there was a group of girls that had huge Q signs. Like they were just cheering their brains out for you. And then, were your parents there that day?
Yeah.
Okay. 'Cause I didn't meet them, but I was like, I think that's her parents. But that victory in 3, it was a 15-13, and that was the decider. Right. So, but you're just like
Decided for what? For
decided for the match. They beat Stanford. It was a really great. I mean, it was a great match against a good team. It was.
Here's some use.
Here comes the UCLA. So that was the fives. Yeah, that was amazing with Rochelle and Megan.
Let's go to you. I gotta. It's in the beginning. It's you. Nice little shot.
Here she is.
There she is, looking all angry and shit.
Look at this. Sick with the left hand.
Yes.
Too good.
Wow.
So just an absolute transition queen. I was just looking like Kristen Nuss last weekend. I mean, that like both of you guys and I know she's got 3 inches on you. So
yeah, I know. I'm
dude,
lucky.
if she hurts you with her left, go down, man.
Yeah, no. That lock-in mentality that I've seen in those 2 matches that I watched, and it's just so fun to watch. So give me a little insight. Like, what's your pregame? How do you set yourself up for these kind of matches?
Well, our strength coach, Coach Lowe?
I love him.
Like, we have so many good talks about, like, life and sports psychology and what to think about and to harness energy, because he's from Hawaii, so his culture is very, like, spiritual and energies and just loving everything you do and, like, passion. So we always, like, do this thing where you, like, say 3 things to yourself in the morning, and then, like, you say those 6 things in the afternoon, and, like, you repeat it 9 times at night just to, like, try to, like, manifest those moments and put it in the earth and receive it back. So I guess, like, every morning I try to pick what I want to be that day. And, like, it can be, like, I usually say, like, change my tenses to, like, I will be present. So I'll say that 3 times. And then during the day, it's like, I am present 6 times. And then at night, it's I was present. And then you just, like, feel it all. I think that day for the UCLA matches, I said, I will be humble. And just, I wanted to be calm that day. And I loved every moment of it. And I felt present and I felt humbled. And I knew I wanted to just prove a point that I deserved to be out there just as much as any of the other taller girls did.
God, that rocks. That rocks. And
it's
I
cool.
don't.
So, like,
yeah.
So different together. So, and then we ask each other, what are our words today? And we just try to, like, always manifest good things to each other.
That is so cool. And he's got such a great vibe. And that Hawaiian culture, the more I learn about it, like, you do get around it. And for energy people and people who are seeking calm, man, they have it figured out. And they love their volleyball. So it's like,
They do.
both things. I mean, watching that Big West championship match with 8,000 people watching the men when Long Beach played Hawaii there, and then they came over here, and that the team, the guys that traveled, that Hawaiian culture is.
It was more than the NCAA's.
It was like, and then they showed up in a huge way in both matches. But, going back to that Hawaiian culture, it is so, that makes a whole lot of sense. And for those to be your 2 words on that day that I watched you, I mean, those are 2 things that are super close to my heart. Like, I have a sign in my family room that says cultivate calm. And, like, when I walk through my door, I'm like, that's what I want my house to be. That's what I want my home to be. So, but I watched you that day, and I don't know if you remember what you said to me after that match.
Oh, God.
I, like, gave you the big hug because I was so fired up. I couldn't get rid of my chills. And you goes, well, that must be what it feels like to have a baby. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, oh, I've never put it on that level, but okay. Yeah. Like, it was, you were so intense and fired up that it was just, one, it's amazing to be around, but to watch that athleticism and the way you locked in that game was just, it was lights out. So,
well, they had that wrong call at the end too, if you remember.
Yes.
And that was terrible. I almost lost it with that ref, and then they switched, like, the score was flipped, and then we were down 2019, and we just like took a breath and came back, and oh, that was a good one. That was a good memory with me and Sonny.
Yeah, I mean that's one you'll hang on to forever too. So, that was amazing. But obviously, like, and it came out in a couple minutes ago. It sounded like, the smaller player, you have that little chip on your shoulder, right? How have you worked through that? Because that's been there your whole life, right? And you've played at this amazingly high level and are incredible. How do you kind of use that chip to your advantage?
I think people already look at me with a sort of disrespect for my height, so it is like an edge thinking that they maybe already have this game unlocked or that my height will make a difference. But I think in my training, I really just had to pay attention to details, and everything I did, every skill movement was like with the right intention, just to lock in a good base, and all my techniques were down so that way I can move on to strategy building. And I think people look at me and don't think I did any of that, but maybe I got here by luck or because they just needed another defender out there. But Wayne just was a big part of that, and like believing in that it's about like how big your heart was in the game and not how big your size was. So that was cool. And like when someone believes in you like that, you just want to prove to everybody that you are that. And it's almost like he manifested that in me and for me. And my parents were a big part too. Like we would spend hours after practice serving or passing just to perfect my skills because they knew I wanted to. And they're like, you're going to do it. So they pushed me to do it anyway, but I'm super thankful for it. And I mean, I wish I was a couple extra inches. Don't get me wrong, that would be super beneficial. But I think it just helps me work harder too.
Yeah, I mean, you do some amazing things. I get it. I mean, you're playing sports in the land of the giants, but man, like there's not there. It seems like there's nothing you can't do, and I think that's such an amazing message to be able to send to all players, right? I mean, honestly, that like my whole life was always feeling like I was getting beat by the people that were smaller than me because they had that edge. They like it is that attention to detail. It is the extra practice that you'll put in. It's the technique and paying really close attention to, where you're putting that ball. And, to have parents that supported you and you clearly wanted to do it, right? I mean, it wasn't an issue. Because you see that a lot now these days where maybe the parents want it more than the kid. And to rise to these levels of the game that you've risen to, maybe you can speak a little bit to that about, how did you work with your parents to let them know what you wanted to do and how they could help you on your path?
I mean, I remember we like had the talk in high school about like, if this is what you want to do, like this is what you would need. And not like many players have your spot. Like I wanted to play both. Also, I wanted to play beach and indoor. I didn't want to have to pick. So I was needed to find a school that did that. But as soon as I told my parents I wanted to play, they were just super supportive and helping me do the film. And my dad was already my coach. So he would kind of push me a little harder in practices sometimes. And there was definitely challenges like where like maybe I wanted a dad more than a coach. So we had to work through that sometimes. And I had to really up my communication with my parents when I needed parents and when I needed coaches because that's their life. That was their life as coaching. But I was like, I'm also your kid. So
yeah. And
that showed me a lot of support.
That takes some savvy communication skills for a young player. Like that's a lot.
Yeah. So I think that like taught me a lot too, just early communication with people. I mean, even older, like my coaches, I had really good relationships with them. In terms of communication, like I told them what I need as a person and a player, and it was really helpful when they listened. So I think my parents were a huge part of that, or the first step of that I needed to learn, that if I need to communicate what I need, someone will help me. I just have to have the courage to say it and be confident in what I'm saying and believe what I'm saying for someone to see me as me and help what I wanted and what I needed.
That's so awesome. that is, you're hitting on something that I think is so big, because I think a lot of us are conflict avoidant, and you learning those communication strategies young and realizing that you could advocate for yourself is such a huge lesson on the path to success. And I don't know if you would have any advice as to like how to kind of overcome that conflict avoidance. You did just say a few things, believing in yourself, but if that, it's huge. And I think it creates such a clearer path when you're able to get over that. So any other advice on conflict avoidance?
I think you just have to practice doing it. Like the more you do it, the better you get at it. Being social helped me be social in other areas. Like I wasn't afraid to ask partners to play or talk to coaches about things I needed, or even teachers or athletic staff. So the more you do it, the more comfortable you kind of get with it, and the more you'll do it to other areas of people.
Yeah. Do you feel like that helps you handle rejection better too? Like, because obviously when you put yourself out there, there are times that you're rejected, like whether you're a younger player and you're asking people to play and they say, no, I don't want to play with you, or whatever, whatever those things are, when you do feel rejected, how do you handle that?
I feel like, yeah, the more you get rejected, I guess the less it hurts.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that, actually. I think that's brilliant. You're like, okay, I felt that before, and we're moving on.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, that's the worst you could have said. It's already my fourth no, it's fine.
I totally agree with that. Hey, I hope you're enjoying this chat as much as I am. For more inspiring conversations, go to BeBetterWithWendyJones.com. So there are things you like to do outside of volleyball, and I've seen you post on some of it. Slacklining, one of them, amazing. Like this kid's balance is ridiculous. Like it is so fun to watch. I wish I could do that. Maybe after this ankle gets healed up, I'll have to get some lessons. So she's the slackline is amazing. So tell me how you got in. Jade doesn't even know what slacklining is. So let's get in on that.
Like when you can like do the tight roping between two trees kind of, and you walk across that little line.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it's like really tight, and you can.
She looks like a little gymnast. I mean, you look like an Olympic gymnast on that thing.
Oh, thank you. My brother professionally skated, so he was like really big into it kind of. He was really good at it. And I bought one online for $30 because it was a fun outdoor activity to do. So he was really good at it because he did all the rollerblading and skating. So his balance was nice. And I was like, I don't want you to be better than me. So it's my game. So we would go to the beach and just do it every day. And it was such a social thing because everyone would be like, can I try that? And you're like, come on. And like you either try and you're bad and it's funny, or you're good and it's funny. So it was a cool social thing to do also. It like made people see that maybe they aren't as athletic as they are.
Yeah.
Big men would come up and be like, I can do this, and I'll be like, I'll give you $100 if you can. They definitely couldn't. So it was funny to watch, and I made friends doing it. So it was cool.
Really cool. And then you skate too.
Yeah. That's like that Florida Beach lifestyle.
Yeah. Well,
I miss it. I feel like nobody longboards here, so it hurts my heart a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'll find them eventually.
You will. I want you to come out to California and skate with Matthew. That kid, like, it's the weirdest thing because athletically, he's never been interested in a lot. And then all of a sudden you put him he wanted to surf, and then the surfing turned into skating. And there's something about a body in motion that it works. I watch him and I'm like, wow, how'd you figure that out? I mean, he's 6'6". He's the opposite of, he's just turned 15 and 6'6", and you put him on a skateboard and everything comes together. So
awesome.
Yeah, aside from the crash that happened right after I had surgery and he took a spill, but that was also, it's now turned into a really cool story of like, hey, I'm kind of actually tough. He wore his helmet like I've preached, but
Yeah.
he hit the, Mom, I don't need that. And then he hit a stop sign with it, like it coming down a hill. And he was like, oh, I didn't do that turn right, and 7:30 in the morning. So
Are you saying
skating,
stop signs are not bigger than 6'6"?
no, I don't know. I wasn't there. It just was the phone call that came in and was like, so skateboarding has turned into a thing in our house, and it's hugely confidence building. It's just like the way I take him up and go on these hills, and he, it's been really fun to see the athleticism that comes out of it.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
yeah, so and he longboards, so come on out and we'll take some of these
I
hills with him.
have one of the certain longboards. It's called a Carver
Okay.
longboard.
Uh-huh.
And like the truck under it is built in a way that mimics a wave surfing.
Oh.
So you can kind of keep like curving, and the board will keep pumping you forward without you having to push. So that would be like a cool combo for him if he likes surfing and skateboarding.
Yeah, you'll have to give me some. Yeah, I'll take
I'll
the
just
link or
send you a
the
link.
details on that for sure.
I love it. It reminds me of just like surfing. It's cool the way it can turn and stuff.
How old were you when you started surfing and skating?
I haven't really surfed, but I've like been skating since my freshman year of high school.
Okay, cool.
Me and my friends in my neighborhood would do it everywhere. So it was super fun.
I love it. So, as far as, and when you sent me that writing book, I'm switching gears on just like what you do to kind of calm your mind with all this athletic activity. Do you write a lot? Do you journal?
Yeah, I just try to journal when I need to, because I've tried to do this thing doing it every day and then it just felt forced.
Yes.
But I really go to it when I feel like I need it, though. I don't try to avoid it. But it feels good. It feels good to get out how you're feeling in the moment. I've actually read through it the other day, and it's funny because you don't want to read through it almost because you're letting things go.
Mm-hmm.
But then you kind of laugh at, you're like, man, I felt like that day and I got over it. That's cool to like read and
yeah. Yeah, my advice on that one is absolutely just hang on to those, because when you look back 20 years later, it's a wild ride, and it's so fun. It's so fun to have. So that is the thing I love about writing, is that you when you hang on to that stuff, it's so cool to have in your, in the rearview mirror, because the things you forget if you don't write them down it's really cool.
Mm-hmm. And that book, it just helped kind of make the writing come more alive and more in detail about writing how you feel, because that's very hard to do.
Yeah.
Personally, I think there's only so many words that can make you put down how you feel, but when you kind of put them together in a certain order, it creates this bigger image. So I think that's what that book helped with a lot, is what I'm hearing, seeing, feeling, and putting them in very decisive, like encrypted language to make the message more meaningful.
Yeah, and really bringing all your senses alive in your writing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it's a cool book. So thanks for the recommendation. Mm-hmm. We'll put it in the show notes. It's a really good book for writers. But yeah. So where do you go from here? Like you just oh wait, you have one more. You're still there.
I'm gonna
tell everybody what you're doing.
Graduate assistant. Try to start getting the coaching under the belt now, so that'll be fun. Flipping sides to the other side, I guess.
Wow, 2 years in a row with amazing grad assistants at TCU that I've gotten to know. Liv has been amazing, and then to have you in that role, God, that makes me excited for that team. That's so cool, and I'm sure you'll really enjoy it. What are you looking forward to from in that switch from player to coach?
I guess the biggest thing is kind of going to be like the compliance work. I'm not excited for it, but I know I need to know how to do it for the future, and to do it successfully now will help me in the future to know how to plan things better, or to coordinate things, or what the team would need or what I would need. So it's just a lot of practice now for what I think will be a successful team dynamic in the future.
Yeah. And you get to take the insight from this season and bring it into the next. as hard as it was to go out and have that be your last match in Gulf Shores, but to be able to have that under your belt and know the team dynamic and see what's coming in, they're really lucky to have you in that capacity, because that's a lot of cool insight.
Yeah, and Liv did everything for us, so I'm just happy to give back and serve the girls that like did so much for me. So I'm excited just to do so much for them too.
Cool. And are you playing any volleyball this summer?
Yeah, I would love to. I'm just taking a week off because I think
it's a good idea. It's been a lot of volleyball.
Nice. Yeah, it's hard. I feel like it's harder to rest. I just want to go do stuff. It feels weird to not do anything, but I know it's important to not do anything either.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's why
recovery is important. It's just hard to do.
It
I feel like there's no time in the world, but like there is.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Do you have that gene that like kicks in that's like, oh, I'm being lazy?
Yeah. I hate it.
I know.
I hate it, but you're like, it's okay.
It is okay. And that's why when I realized yesterday my surgery schedule got messed up and I knew Jay had some podcasting time, I was like, wait, maybe I can get Q this week because, and by the way, everybody, like Kaylee, I never even knew who they were talking about. Lauren called you Q all season. And so she goes by Q from what I can tell by all your teammates. Right. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I was like, maybe I can get her. And I caught you on the down week, so I'm trying to help with your recovery.
Yes, it's working. It made me stay in and relax.
Good. And yeah, you guys are out there in the heat right now too.
Oh yeah. The Texas summer heat is here.
Yeah.
Who's she playing with, ABP?
Yeah, who are you gonna play with this summer? Are you signed up with any particular partner yet, or?
Not yet. I know I was gonna try to play with maybe Haley Hamlet a little bit, or even Olivia if she wanted to play some. It's kind of figuring out who's gonna be in the area.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
I might go home to Florida a little bit to play with a couple people. Right now I'm kind of just still in recovery mode and figuring out where to live and kind of getting that under my belt first for the summer.
Yeah.
And I'm still working out and training, so that's good. I'm just like trying to stay ready but not overload my schedule yet.
Yeah, you're in that transition time of year too, as a college athlete, right? Getting ready to move.
Yes.
And yeah, all that stuff. So
yeah, it's just like my rebuilding year kind of. We're like starting from scratch.
Well, you'll have to keep us posted when you do do have a tournament coming, because I love watching you play, and it's some really good stuff. So
yes, I totally will.
Okay, good. And you now to go from player to coach, you get to impart all of that wisdom to younger players, which is one of my callings and my favorite things to do, because so many things that I learned about myself I learned through sports, but didn't get to the levels because I was a super timid player. So I do get, when I see players like you, I'm like, dang, I wish I had that. And now I'm like the adult that when I go out and play volleyball, people are like, Wendy, we've never heard you be so loud. And I'm like, only when I play sports. Well, now it's coming out on other fronts, but it was only in sports that I felt that intensity. And I do think that when you have a training ground across your life where you train those things, just the more that you can build that fire, the further you get, faster, and you find that tribe of people that supports you. And I see you doing that. And I think that's what excites me so much, even beyond your amazing play, which I will watch all day long. So my hat's off to you, because you are such a real person, and you communicate that and you post that. And I think in this world that is such a beautiful thing, because I do feel like younger generations are watching highlight reels, and as much as I love to watch amazing digs and all those putaways, but the highlight reel of life on social media is, I don't think, the healthiest thing for younger people to be watching. And I do think that when we get out there, it's really important to tell the real stories and be truly who we are. And that is the stuff that I want to celebrate with Be Better, and just allowing people to, giving us all a space to tell stories that inspire rather than what we're doing and seeing on the news, and I see you as one of those people, and thank you for the inspiration that you've given me, because it really is uplifting. And I love coming through this life and seeing people like you, and especially younger generations that are doing that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for seeing me too. People always say you're funny or you're very energetic, and I know I'm that, but I'm more than that, and I know you see that and see past that, almost why it's there. So I really love that, and I appreciate that about you, and I feel like that's the connection we had that first day, almost, that you're goofy and you're here, but it's intentional goofiness. So this is your path of walking, and it's cool to see someone else see that. So I appreciate that about you too.
Well, thank you. You run deep and it comes across. I don't know. I see it. I saw it the first time. So I would love to keep this conversation up. I love following athletes that are walking the walk and kind of highlighting them for younger generations to see. So, you are definitely one of those. And I definitely want people to be able to find you if you're open to that. So where social media wise, what are the platforms we can find you?
Instagram is probably my best at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you want me to say it?
Yeah, go ahead and say it, and then I'll for sure put it in the show notes.
Okay, it's Kaylie McHugh, Kaylie, McHugh, MCHUGH, and 2 4s.
4. Okay, cool. It'll go in the show notes, and you just follow this girl, you guys. She's going places. You're gonna see her in the coaching world. You're gonna see her, saying great things, writing great things, influencing people with such fire and real intentional philosophy. It's awesome stuff. So I thank you for this conversation. And my last question for you is one piece of advice that you want to leave everybody with that you would maybe give to your younger self or a junior player.
The piece of advice I think would just really know who you are as a person, and whatever you're doing, just make sure you wholeheartedly love everything that you're doing. If it's volleyball, if it's school, if it's your job, just make sure you love it. Because if you rely on anybody else to love it for you or have expectations to do things for anyone else, then I think you will fall short every time. And if it's not for you, or if you're losing the love, it's okay to reconnect with yourself through other things and to find a new love somewhere else, or to keep working through it, but just don't force anything.
Oh, I love that message. Yep. That's called working with resistance and letting it go. And I love that.
Oh, yes.
I love that. So thank you so much for this conversation today.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for the What I Meant to Say podcast. For more real conversations like this one, come on over to the Be Better community at www.bebetterwithwendyjones.com, a place for athletes and parents to grow and find meaning behind what we do every day so that we can be strong on our own and better together.